teach kids how to treat one another, to teach them how to love their neighbor, to treat everyone with kindness and dignity, and to speak up when a peer says something hateful to another child. We all expect our teachers to do everything they can to keep our kids safe while they're at school. I imagine we all agree that includes keeping them safe from abuse at the hands of other students, whether it be physical or psychological abuse. And I'm certain we all believe it includes ensuring that the teachers themselves are not harming our kids, whether intentionally or not. I do not expect our teachers to teach morality to my children or to anyone else's children. But just as I would want faculty and staff to deal with one kid punching another kid at school, I want them to deal with racism when they encounter it. This is not easy, which is why I'm so thankful that you have decided to hire experts. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, would ask the members of the audience to please keep your claps and comments. Please don't do that during the time that someone is speaking. Thank you. Thank you. Next up, we have Ravita Raman, and I apologize if I get the next name incorrect. Tizgul, hi? Tijel, I'm sorry. First up is Ravita Raman.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Ravita Rahman, 300 Shadow Creek Drive, and I'm speaking here today in support of FHS. On this day in 1954, our country faced racism and people fighting against equality during Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court decision. And here we are fighting that same racism again 67 years later. If your child has never experienced racism at school, that's good for you. That does not mean that it does not exist, and it does not occur daily for some students. Our students have the right to have a safe learning environment too. I'm not as concerned about what the name is given to it. I'm more concerned with the action taken to ensure that other children aren't tormenting our kids based on race, sexuality, or a host of other things. If you are not empathetic on how to solve this crisis, please stop trying to prevent action. Racist acts are occurring constantly. I heard from a Williamson County family whose biracial child emailed a friend that she could not continue to take the torment of a white student telling her she did not belong at that school because she was black. She told her friend she wanted to kill herself and if this continues. We have to do something about this. The time to act is now. So I applaud the school board for your 100% unanimous support of the D&I consultant and ask you to continue supporting equality. Thank you.
Thank you. Tijel, hi.
Hi, my name is Tijel High. I live at 1577 Red Oak Lane in Brentwood. Thank you for prioritizing the school district's learning as it relates to diversity, inclusion, and equity. By the numbers, Williamson County District should have high pride in its high-achieving students. However, by the numbers, some students are being left behind. Black and brown students and those that are economically disadvantaged are disproportionately represented in the numbers of students punished within our school with out-of-school and in-school suspensions, and likely other disciplinary measures. However, those same students are underrepresented in those that are selected for opportunities to get into gifted programs and programs of higher academic excellence. The selection process for these programs is not transparent and it's not consistently objective. My personal experience with that process has been less than positive. Bias exists. We all have them. It exists in the way our administrators make decisions. It exists in the way our teachers present material to students. Bias is what allowed my child to bring home an assignment in commerce that linked a picture of a black student to the term scarcity, and for the school administrator to respond that in other parts of the world things are scarce. He could not appreciate that his bias indicated stereotypes that he held, and nothing in the picture had anything to do with the lesson that was being taught. He's a good person. He didn't intend to have that, but he needs the skills and the lessons to be able to understand how to take lessons to our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Martha Henley, followed by Inetta Gaines.
Good evening. My name is Martha Henley. I live at 9458 Appleton Court. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. When my firstborn son started kindergarten, I remember that feeling of sending him into the world, and when he got home from school, I couldn't wait to pepper him with questions about what did he learn in school that day. But did my child tell me about learning letters and numbers and singing songs? No. What my child, eyes sparkling, could not wait to share with me was about the kid who got in trouble. It was so exciting. It was the most exciting thing that happened that day was a kid got in trouble. And I think we can all relate to that. Drama is what excites, is what makes an impression. I don't have any indication that there was anything wrong with what happened at school that day, but our children are watching. They are learning what behavior and circumstances warrant punishment, and they're also learning what behaviors are tolerated. We owe it to our children to ensure that the policies driving this passive education are fair for everyone and have been thoughtfully examined, not unthinkingly accepted.
Time.
Thank you very much.
Inetta Gaines.
Good evening, Superintendent Golden and school board members. My name is Inetta Gaines. My student began at Franklin High this year, and yet she had to transition to online due to COVID-19. She has some issues. She had to be in the building for the Tennessee Ready test, and when I dropped her off at school, I immediately get a call, and she's upset, saying she's tired of it and she's going to the office. What she was referring to was a certain young man on social media continuing to bully her. She spoke with us, and we called the principal. She went straight to the principal, and I will tell you who it is because I'm very proud of him this evening. It's Principal Pantal at Franklin High School. So when we picked her up, she was pretty happy that he had talked to her. When I went in, he was in a meeting, and it was a very important meeting. It was with Homeland Security, yet he came out and talked to us and gave my student the courage to realize that something was done. And so what I want to do is just commend him for that. And of course, the school policy says that he could not state what was done, but he told my student that if a young man ever said anything to her for the rest of her time at Franklin High, he wanted to know immediately. And this is how you deal with bullying. It can be done. There are consequences. So thank you, Principal Pantal.
Next up is John Paul Basham, followed by Chelsea Gilbert.
Hey, I'm John Paul Basham, live at 3044 Boxbury Lane. I'm going to give you some of my personal experience. I'm a half-white and half-Colombian man who grew up in a southern city much like this one and rarely acknowledged my Colombian heritage. Filling out the race section on any form growing up always brought inner turmoil as I struggled with the fact that I had functionally denied who I was my whole life. The truth, to my shame, is that it was easier to function as a white young man than a person of color, a person of Hispanic heritage. I saw life easier from my perspective than the perspective of my friends who were black and brown. I'm now a father of 4 kids, 2 of which are part Hispanic, 2 of which are mixed black and white, and I refuse to let them grow up under those same circumstances. And still, my son Titus, through all my efforts, was only 4 years old when he experienced his first very pointed experience with racist remarks against him. So I want to say to you, thank you for your work in fostering healthy solutions. Your work gives parents like me hope that there are better days ahead.
Chelsea Gilbert.
Hello, board and Superintendent Golden. I'm Chelsea Gilbert in Franklin. I have 4 kids in the system, 1 middle schooler, and 3 elementary kids at Clovercroft, and Brad Fiskus is our representative. Hi, Brad. With the shortness of time, I want to draw attention to a recent concern. Dr. Michelle Fiskus, Medical Director, Tennessee Vaccine, Preventable Diseases and Immunization Authority over all of our children, has emailed local vaccinating partners to let them know that there will be possibly some exceptions to acquiring the necessary parental consent in order to pre-exist vaccinating some children. I will read from her letter. The mature minor doctrine in Tennessee permits healthcare providers to treat certain minors without parental consent according to the rule of 7s. Under the age of 7, there is no capacity, skipping ahead. Between the ages of 7 and 14, there is a rebuttal presumption that there is no capacity, and a physician generally should get parental consent. Between the ages of 14 and 18, there is a rebuttal presumption of capacity, and the physician may treat without parental consent. I ask the board to investigate Michelle Fiskus. I ask her to step down. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Lee Cook, followed by Jay Halterman. I believe that's Jenny Halterman.
Hi, good evening. My name's Lee Cook. I live at 1012 Biddix. I have 3 children in WCS. This one, I don't know who she is, but I'm here tonight to touch on 3 points of concern that I just wanted to share with you. First, I recognize that people of color are grossly misunderrepresented in Williamson County as it comes to not only this board before me tonight, but the faculty and staff at my children's school. And I find that to be concerning and disappointing. Secondly, it's my understanding that there's currently no formal training around diversity and inclusion around topics like unconscious bias that our teachers and faculty experience. So I greatly support that. I personally go through that every year, maybe even twice a year with my corporate job, and I see no reason why faculty and teachers shouldn't experience the same training. And thirdly, I believe we need a better system of reporting and tracking. We might have systems in place, but I want to make sure that students feel safe and comfortable reporting those incidents. Thanks.
Jay Halterman.
Hi there. I'm calling for all COVID policies to end and never return. The average high school student missed 50% of in-person education this year, and the average middle schooler missed 40%. The board must vote today to end communication with the health department going in both directions. We as parents are calling for the board to use your power over Golden as our representatives of parents and end this unlawful
Excuse me,
practice of
no
giving
comments during the speaker, please.
and end this unlawful practice of giving private information to the health department. Manipulation and coercion of minors to get the vax by selling it under the banner of school makes it morally right, good, and expected thing to do. It, however, has been the most lethal thing. It has been lethal to 4,000 people so far. None are approved by the FDA. All are experimental. Under the Nuremberg Code, it is illegal to mandate it. The recent letter from the health department makes the Williamson County's schools the most dangerous place to be giving the vax to 7-year-olds and up without parental consent. I'm calling for your vote today.
Our next speakers are Kay Jackson and C. Kelly.
Hi, my name is Kristen, and I live in Nolansville. I have 2 children a 5th grader and a 7th grader that I removed from Williamson County Schools this past year to homeschool. I would like to send them back this next year. I first want to address critical race theory. Critical race theory identifies individuals as either oppressors or oppressed, bullies or bullied. In critical race theory, one is an oppressor, a bully, not based on behavior but based on gender or race. It teaches our child that they are either born a bully or a victim of bullying. It allows no room for actions to speak louder than color or gender. It forces our children to believe they are either good or bad. This is not the way forward. The way forward is to teach our children that they can do better than their ancestors regardless of their ancestral roots. My second concern, injecting children without parental consent. Currently, we must sign medications in with the school nurse. I'm not discussing prescribed medications. I'm talking about long-approved over-the-counter medications like Tylenol and cortisone cream, and provide detailed instructions on how or when they may be administered to our children. Even sunscreen is not allowed to be applied to children by anyone other than the parent. There are good reasons for this. I can stand here and quote statistics to you about any of these topics. Many will, but at the end of the day, we just want the choice.
Hi, my name is Sharina Kelly. I'd like to talk about the critical race theory and the fostering healthy solutions. I'm proud to be teaching in a time when equity and access is not just acknowledged, but it's prioritized. The integration of uniqueness into a society only serves to make that culture stronger. To turn it away forsakes the growth and enrichment of the society itself. Non-inclusion, anywhere it is found, acts to the detriment of the society of which it proclaims to serve. I believe that exposing students to works from different genders, ethnic, and cultural backgrounds is not just being politically correct, it is simultaneously pointing the student towards a holistic growth, while also setting them up to be successful in a global workforce. I moved here with my family from Australia 4 years ago. My children are very capable of understanding that 2 things can be true at the same time. We can be an imperfect country and still be a great country.
Time.
Thank you.
Our next two speakers are Dustin Kokhtar and Kay James.
My name is Dustin Kokhtar, and I'm a resident of Williamson County's 12th District, and I have 3 children in elementary school. Thank you for the unanimous decision to hire Fostering Healthy Solutions to provide some much-needed assistance and guidance to help make our schools safer and more welcoming for everyone. You put your reputations and positions on this board at risk, and you opened yourselves up to all sorts of harassment and hate. Please stay the course and continue to support the work of Fostering Healthy Solutions. As a parent of black children, I know that talking about race can be complicated and messy, but it's critical work for all of us. And for my fellow white people, I recognize the discomfort you feel about this, but we can move through it, beyond the discomfort and past the shame and guilt that you may feel for being white. If left unattended for too long, white guilt can become the best friend of white supremacy. So we must listen and learn.
Excuse me, deputies. I'm asking everyone in the audience to show the respect that you would like to be shown or you have been shown when you have spoken, please. Please continue, sir.
Thank you. So we must listen, learn, and act and do what's right. Our schools should be inclusive environments where the humanity and dignity of our children is not up for discussion or debate, and they should also be places where our children can see people who look like them as teachers and administrators. For the students who are hurting or feel powerless, we hear you and we support you. Thank you.
Kay James.
Hello, my name is Kim James, and I live in the Nolensville area. I have 3 young children that attend an area elementary school that are 6, 8, and 10 years of age. We moved to this area about 3 years ago. What I'd like to highlight here today is that there's without a doubt a very real and dangerous issue as it relates to acknowledging and celebrating diversity in the Williamson County school system and in the county in general. What I'm requesting as a parent of 3 beautiful brown children is the school system to stop treating black and brown parents and children in WCS like we're invisible and expendable. Our children are part of this community and deserve to feel safe, seen, and protected within Williamson County schools. The false assertion that there is no need for DEI training in the school system is a blatant attempt to preserve the privilege, hate, and ignorance that is a serious issue in Williamson County. Just recently, we've had kids say extremely hurtful comments to my children, like black people are ugly, or the N-words are stupid anyway, a sentiment the child says was told to him by his father. We've also experienced the hurtful effects of teachers' racial biases. Our students deserve to be treated equally, and I applaud you all for your DEI efforts.
Our next two speakers are Terry Sinclair and Debbie Pace, please.
At the work session Thursday, it was stated that there are only 244 cases of COVID, with no stipulation made as to how many of those are asymptomatic, and that was countywide. There's 32 schools with 0 cases, 15 schools with 1 to 2 cases, and 3 have more than 2. Does the continued enforcement of mask wearing provide any benefit that outweighs the negative and unintended consequences? I'm here to ask you to make masks optional, effective immediately instead of waiting till Friday. Set free our students' radiant smiles. Let them light up our schools with their happy faces. Let's finish out this challenging year on a positive note. There's no justification for a delay. I'm a school bus driver, and it was hot today, and it's supposed to be mid to upper 80s as the week progresses. With a mask, it's suffocating to me, and I can tell you those kids are not comfortable in a hot bus with a mask on. I have 2 grandchildren that are in the Williamson County schools, but I feel like I have 70 children.
Debbie Pace.
My name is Debbie Pace. I live in Brentwood, and I have 6 children. 2 have gone through the school system, and I still have 4. Over the last 20 years, I've watched the school board steadily walk away from the values that drew me and all of us to this community. The function of the school is to educate our children. The school board has no authority, no scientific standing, and no legal basis for regulating healthcare in the schools, including dictating mask wearing, mandating healthy children be sent home, and isolating them. This is not your job. Masks and vaccine administration is not your job. Our children are our responsibility, and we do not need the school system to co-parent. We are demanding that you do the right thing, because if you think this is going to go away, and we are going quietly to comply and sit by to watch your blatant disregard of our rights as parents, you are sorely mistaken.
Our next two speakers are David Holliday and Dawn Ann Ritter. Mr. Holliday?
Hey, good evening. My name is Dr. William Holliday, and I would like to address the critical race theory question. I'm not racist. I've never been racist, but critical race theory is racist. All critical race theory is Marxism disguised as good manners. It's a lie. It tells our children, and I've seen this on the Brain Pop videos, that they're racist just because they're white. There's not an option for I'm not racist. It's how racist are you? What could be more racist than that? It tells our children that people of color are all oppressed. If they're white, it's their fault. It tells our children that this country is a racist country and needs to be fundamentally changed, and that we should all feel a deep sense of guilt for being American, particularly so if you're white. Critical race theory all but granted sainthood on a Brain Pop video to a man who was a career criminal, a drug addict, and who held a gun to his pregnant girlfriend's belly. You don't hear that on the news.
Time.
Okay.
Thank you. Our next
Fair enough.
speaker is Dawn Ann Ritter.
Hi, I'm Dawn Ann Ritter. I first want to thank all of you on the board of Williamson County Schools for getting our kids back in school as quick as you did versus California or other parts of the country. I'm concerned. I'm concerned for our kids wearing masks. I had to pick my daughter up several times due to severe headaches, and that's from hypoxia, from not enough oxygen to your brain. That is not healthy. I also don't let them take her temperature at her forehead, which is also an unknown and very debated thing to your pineal gland, and also is conditioning your kids to a gun to their head. I'm concerned about the critical race theory. Exactly what David Holliday said. The stuff they're teaching is somewhat backwards. I've had experience with some of my daughter's friends that are completely confused. And the last one is the vaccinations and the doctrine, mature doctrine, that's being lobbied by Mr. Fiskus's wife, who's on the Tennessee Board of Health. We have the letter. That's a concern. Nobody has the right to do that to our children.
Time. Jim Bicknell, I believe, and Marissa Diploch.
Say the hard names for you for the same time. Right. My name is Jim Bicknell. I live in Spring Hill. I'd like to thank all of you for waking us parents up, for overplaying your hand with the masks and waking up a sleeping giant. I know that you think that by getting rid of the mask mandate, you had no authority to give, that we'll just go away and leave you alone now. But I'm here tonight to tell you, we're just getting started. In the past year, thanks to you, we parents have become keenly aware of what happens here, and we don't like it. You do not get to vaccine our children. You don't get to mask our children. You may not have wanted this battle, but this battle is coming. Judges 15:15. We, the parents, have our metaphorical jawbone of an ass, and we're ready to smite 1,000 men. Your move.
Our next speaker is Marissa Diploch. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it.
It's fine. My name is Marisa Diploch. I have 2 children in Williamson County Schools. I'm here to talk to you about this experimental vaccine that you seem to be willing to get ready to roll out into our schools. Knowing that the COVID experimental vaccine is still in the safety trials phase and has only been given the green light due to emergency use, why would you even consider possibly having children vaccinated on school premises? Children are not at risk. The vaccine is personal protection only. Me getting it does not protect any of you, and you getting it does not protect me. Even if it does protect you, that's still up to be discussed. You say it's not going to be mandatory for school admission, but I'd like you to take that one step further. I'd actually like you to request that the children actually have their personal doctors administer it, not on school premises. Also, will you be allowing parents to take exemptions for the vaccines like you do all the rest of them? Because I'm not wanting my child to be vaccinated.
Time.
Especially
Time.
My child is not going to be part of an experiment, and I'm not going to ask your permission to exempt them from it.
Randall Allen and Ryan Parrish.
Thank you for your time, board. My name is Randall Allen. I've got 2 boys that will be in Indy in a couple of months. And I just implore you folks to lead us. You're leading my boys and they don't know it. The policies and procedures you all didn't vote on. You gave it to the superintendent. You gave it to faceless, unaccounted for bureaucrats in the health department. I implore you now that you've learned from the past as you're looking to the future, lead us, lead my boys, make these decisions and be held accountable to the voters. Don't give them to bureaucrats that we can't have any accountability to, that they can't have any ability to us. Thank you.
Ryan Parrish.
Hello, my name is Ryan Parrish, and I live in Franklin. I grew up being taught that all people are created equal and to love my neighbor as myself. But I often ask myself, if that's really what I believe, why is it that I found myself instinctively locking my car doors when I see a black person standing on a street corner? Why is it that I felt obliged to smile and nod my head when walking by, as if to prove that I'm really not racist? Why is it the person that I am in these little harmless moments is so much different than the person I want to be? As much as it embarrasses me to find myself perpetuating these little inequities, I can't even begin to imagine what it feels like to be on the other side of them. The looks of suspicion, the superficial smiles, the little changes in body language and posture. Nobody, least of all our children, should have to live like that. Racism hurts us all. My biggest fear isn't that my children will grow up to be white supremacists. My biggest fear is that they'll end up like me, where the person they are in those little moments doesn't line up with the person they want to be. Education, honest conversations, and learning about our biases and blind spots may not solve everything, but it's a step, and it's a step in the right direction.
Time.
So thank you.
Our next 2 speakers are E. Miller and Stephanie Ziegler. E. Miller, Stephanie Ziegler.
Hi there, I'm Emily Miller. I live in Nolensville. I have 1 child in WCS and 1 that will attend soon. First, I just wanted to say thank you to the board. Thank you for your hard work in all areas of our education, and thank you so much for hiring FHS, a qualified third party to help us have difficult conversations and make our schools better. Just wanted to say that as a white mom of white children, this still matters to me, because why wouldn't it? It matters to me that students of color are encouraged to equally take advanced and AP courses, that they're equally disciplined for the same infractions, that they have a safe and comfortable place to report racist incidents that happen to them, and then that those incidents are tracked in an accurate way within our district. I just want to say, please keep up the good work that you're doing, and thank you.
Stephanie Ziegler.
Hi, my name is Dr. Stephanie Zeiger, and as a mother of 2 elementary students in District 2 and an educator, I fully support the board's and district's work on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Understanding the diversity of our student body is important to develop a community of respect within our schools that does not emphasize a single perspective, but embraces multiple perspectives, whether from books, conversations, assignments, or interactions with one another in the classroom or on the fields. Diversity, equity, and inclusion work matters. Equity is essential so students, no matter background, are supported and have the resources to reach their maximum potential. Inclusion is necessary to ensure all students can participate fully in our community and are respected for their similarities and differences. Diversity, equity, and inclusion work matters. From our youngest kindergartners beginning to learn who they are in our school community, to our seniors that will hopefully be empowered global citizens, our students do not need to leave a part of who they are at the door when entering our schools or be excluded due to their socioeconomic status, race, sexual identity, or neurodiversity. I implore the board and district to continue this important
Time.
DEI work, and I'm eager to support you as you move forward.
Shanna Lively, followed by Aaron Newman, please.
Good evening. As a parent of 2 children in WCS, I'm appalled and disgusted with the direction and overreach of the school board and superintendent. Schools are for academics, athletics, and arts. I do not send my child to be given values, a vaccine, or be indoctrinated to not only what to think, but how to think. Get rid of the COVID restrictions, address the disturbing issues in wit and wisdom, and take the time to understand CRT instead of spreading the lie that CRT is not being pushed and not already in our schools. This is dishonest and reckless. Our kids deserve better, and as a parent, I demand it to be better.
Aaron Newman.
Good evening, and thank you for opening this up for all of us to speak. I'm Erin. I'm from Nolensville. There have been some testimonies from people in the community that there are several board members that actually don't know what CRT is. So I'm here to invite you and everybody in the audience to CRT 101, Wednesday, May 19th, 5 p.m., Liberty Hall at the Factory. Williamson County Board of Education Policy Manual 1.202, titled Duties of the Board Members, reads, "The duties of an individual board member shall be as follows: to become familiar with education laws, rules, and regulations of the State Board of Education and the State Department of Education and school board policies. Further, your policy manual 1.2021, Code of Ethics for School Board Members, Article 6, My Relations to Myself, Section 1 reads, I will inform myself about my duties and responsibilities and current educational issues by individual study through participation in programs, providing needed information. According to your policy manual, you have a duty to learn about this issue." Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jason Michael, followed by Anna Riglin.
I thank you first for protecting my child this last year. It was a tough year, and you made tough decisions, and I feel like my child was protected, and I just wanted to say thank you to that. I come, though, in this brief moment to do my best to speak in favor of DEI and racial awareness in the classroom. I could come as a pastor. I could come as an academic trained in critical race theory, but instead I come as a parent of a Nolensville High School rising senior, and I speak because I want him to know about the racial history of our country and how racism still exists today in the fabric of our culture. I want him to know about the Tulsa Massacre, the Native American massacres that came with the vaunted gold rush, the Fort Pillow Massacre, redlining, voter intimidation, the genocide of whole peoples inside of our borders, and the brutal truths about slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, hatred, bigotry, and how it still produces power to create racism today. I want my son to know this, so when versions of the same are encountered in his life, my boy will know how to stand clearly and firmly against it. So I thank the school board for their efforts in diversity. You are to be commended, and I suggest that despite those who speak otherwise, the board continue to strive forward to understanding, amending, and reconciling our children in education. Thank you.
Ann Riglin.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to speak and express our concerns. My name is Ann Rigdon, 3408 Redmond Hill, Nolensville, parent of 3 children in Williamson County schools, 1 in each level, elementary, middle, and high school. I'm a nurse, I'm a resident of this fine community, and I'm a proud Army veteran. I believe America is the greatest country on earth and that all men are created equal. As a war veteran, I can assure you we all bleed the same color. I come to you tonight to express my concerns over what my rising 2nd grader, he is 7, will be exposed to in his ELA class. not his social justice class that he signed up for in college, but his ELA class. I believe the Wit and Wisdom curriculum is robbing our young children of their youth and introducing strong adult themes far too early. I believe this is intentional, and as the Great Minds website that has proliferated this curriculum details, that these topics will occur strategically and reoccur strategically. There's a push by some of those that have our curriculum. Do the right thing, stick to your policies, don't parent our kids. The conversations start at home.
Time. The next speaker is Susan Macy, followed by Liz Custer.
My name is Susan Macy, and I live in District 6 in Brentwood. I'm here tonight to voice my opposition to bringing fostering healthy solutions into our schools. I've heard the Fosters and WCS leadership say things like, we are just here to gather data, or no, FHS will not be implementing critical race theory, but it's already here in Wit and Wisdom. I have done much listening and studying, and with the deepest love for everyone in this room, I reject that all white people are oppressors. I reject that all people of color are victims, that all systems in America are racist, and that we haven't made some of the most laudable progress in this country when it comes to race issues. Please hear this also. I passionately acknowledge that our children need to understand what bigotry, hate, racism, and most importantly, self-worth are so they can live right. But I don't want them anywhere near CRT and its single-lens, race-based political divisiveness. My concern is that fostering healthy solutions will lead us straight there. Our children depend on you all to get this right, so get it right.
Our next speaker is Liz Custer, followed by David Blackwell.
Hello, my name is Liz Custer. I lived in Brentwood, raised my 3 kids at Edmondson, Brentwood Middle, and Brentwood High School. I've always been proud of their education that they got in Williamson County. And they're grown and married now, and thank you, although maybe you weren't a board member at that time. I now live in Leapers Fork, have 4 grandbabies and 1 on the way, 2 of which will be in Williamson County schools. I'm seriously concerned that the school board would even consider this vaccine issue. This vaccine is an experimental. Children are not experiments. They're not lab rats. We cannot experiment on our children. There are treatments. My father has a compromised lung. He's almost 80. He got the China virus. He took the ivermectin, the other. Ma'am.
I believe it's called COVID-19. Please continue.
He got that, and he.
She needs to continue, please. Everyone, be quiet. We're almost done. Thank you.
Thank you. And he took ivermectin, vitamin D, zinc. He's fine. There are treatments for this disease that are not being publicized, but they're out there and they're very effective. So he's fine. He lived right through it. So Dr. Robertson is correct. He has the experience that my father has that backs up the data. This is an experiment and it has no place in our school system. Thank you.
Our next speaker is David Blackwell.
Yeah, I'm a nurse of 22 years. I'm also a case manager. With regards to what our schools here in Williamson County are teaching, my son went off to the University of Tennessee to study medicine, and he said he was in no way, shape, or form prepared for University of Tennessee when he left Centennial High School. So on that, with regards to the masks don't work. That's been publicized on the CDC website for years. We called it the mask of shame when HCA, a corporate for-profit hospital system, demanded that we wear those if we didn't take the flu shot. This is all about a coercion campaign. The Ontario Nurses Association in Ontario sued on that and won on the science alone. So look into the science, look into the Ontario Nurses Association. The masks need to go.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jenny Connolly, followed by Corey Martinez, and then Laura Kleeman, who is our last speaker. So Jenny Connolly, Corey Martinez, and Laura Kleeman.
Hi, my name is Jenny Conley, and I am a mother of 4. I have 2 in college and 2 in high school, and I live in Franklin, and I have a master's in biochemistry. I'm opposed to the schools being used to distribute the vaccines. Children should not be injected with experimental drugs. COVID's not a threat to our children. I went to the CDC's website today and I looked. All deaths from all causes from last year, 43,258. The deaths from COVID were 287. That's 0.7%. The suicides from kids ages 10 to 14 was 596. It was almost 3 times. The mental health risk is much greater than the death from COVID. So I'm also taught math in high school before I moved here, and so I'm going to give you some numbers as well. Adverse events, I went on the CDC website today. In 2021, there were these are deaths, 3,726. The past 20 years, this is from the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, the past 20 years there were 3,995.
Time.
Okay, so
Thank you.
there are as many deaths in the past,
Thank you.
just these few months as the past 20
Thanks.
years.
Our next speaker is Corey Martinez.
Hello, Corey Martinez here. Fresh top of the year from Los Angeles. Wonderful to be here with all of you. So we have a pretty good understanding of what overreach is. And I came up here to really address the mask issue, but after hearing everybody speak, honestly, it's more of a common sense issue as far as defining the line between parenting and school board or schooling education, rather. So the masks definitely mean something to me to speak on because that just symbolizes the compliance, to be honest, after the science has been proven that our kids don't need to be subject to the psychological damage that is doing at the moment. Continued by the politesse of the CRT and everything that these people are speaking on as well, I feel goes along with that. You know, it starts in the home. Parenting is very important to separate from schooling. I'll stop there for now. Thank you so much.
And our final speaker this evening is Laura Clayman. After Ms. Clayman's remark, we will take a 10-minute break, so those who want to leave without disrupting the meeting, people with small children, please go ahead and feel free to leave, and then we'll reconvene in 10 minutes after the public speaking portion of the meeting. Ms. Clayman.
Hi, I'm Laura Clayman, President of the Williamson County Education Association. And to end this really long evening and this really, really long year, I couldn't let the year go without saying a very heartfelt thank you to all of you. Many, many late nights. I think you guys went past midnight more than once. And I know how many hours you have poured into this. You, heaven's sakes, you had to read my 60-page document. And the teachers also, you helped us survive this year. Allowing those flex days. I've had so many thank yous and teachers who've said, really, that was the only way we made it through this year. So truly, thank you all so very, very much for all you have done for us.
This concludes our public comment. We will recess for 10 minutes. Board members, please be back in your seats at 7:31. Thank you. We're waiting on just one board member to come back. Two? Oh. Oh. Mr. Hall, would you mind stepping out and seeing if you see Mr. Mitchell? That's also a vice chair duty. I believe I see him.
Surely you're not waiting on me.
No, not at all, not at all. So we're ready to move forward with our meeting now. The first item on the agenda is the approval of tonight's meeting agenda. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion to approve from Mr. Welch. Is there a second? Second from Mr. Fiskus. Is there any discussion? I see no discussion.
Madam Chair, I do have a question.
Oh,
Are we using these devices tonight? Yes. Okay, thank you.
thank you. Thank you for asking, Mr. Wimberly.
And his microphone was not on. If you would just mention the question that was asked.
The question that was asked was if we are using our voting devices tonight, and we are. Okay, if there's no further discussion, we will move to a vote to approve tonight's agenda.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The motion passes. Our next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve? Mr. Mitchell makes the motion. Mr. Haw makes the second. Is there any discussion, board members? I don't see anyone wanting to have discussion. If not, we will move to a vote via our electronic devices.
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mr. King, was there something that, is there a microphone issue? Oh, it looks like it's on.
If I may, Madam Chair, turn it off and turn it back on and see.
How's that? Is that better? Okay. With the approval of that consent agenda, Board, you've approved the April 19th, 2021 school board meeting minutes. You've approved the following board policy for second reading, Board Policy 1.403, agendas. You have also approved a request, a physician-supported request for a child to be excused from compulsory school attendance. And you've also approved the following tongue twister, approval of E-Plan applications and budgets for FY 2021-22, 142 school federal projects to include ESEA grants, Title 1A, 1 delinquent, 1 neglected, Title IIA, Title IIIA, 4, IDEA, Part B, IDEA preschool grants, IDEA Partnership for Systemic Change, K-12 and Carl Perkins grant with superintendent authorizations. The next item on the agenda is communications to the board, and the first item in this segment is the superintendent's report. Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank our community for coming out and speaking. This communication is just one of those great examples that I see as what's wonderful about our country, that we make sure that with this elected body and us and the work we're doing, that our community has an opportunity to speak to us. And one nice thing about where we are right now in this country is there's so many opportunities to share. So I want to encourage individuals to continue to communicate with you and with us about where they are, what their opinions are on issues, because we are ultimately, a service organization in the way we serve our students. Madam Chair and Board, I do want to hit 4 items, 3 of which we talked about significantly at the work session. I'm going to just give you a very short synopsis of where we are with our safety protocols and masks, where we are with curriculum, where we are with fostering healthy solutions, and then I'll finish up with one little extra reminder for us. So you all know that I announced on Thursday night that we were not asking you to extend the reopening framework that you all voted in July. And I do thank you for going through that process back in July in approving that reopening framework. What I told you substantively is that we determined that when school lets out at the end of the day on Friday, that we determined that there was no need to continue the mask requirement in our schools. And we spoke to details about that, and I really would like to invite anyone to go back and look at the recording of the work session so that you can get some additional detail related to that. But you know that we set the goal of being on campus this year if we could safely do so. And we grew and grew over the course of the year. And masks were part of that. That was part of what we put in at the beginning in July. The CDC recommended that schools require those to return to campus, and that was part of that plan that we presented to you. We determined now that when we finish school, that need will be gone. And I recognize that that was not soon enough, and that has not been soon enough for some, but you all also know that that's a little too early for others. And so we've had to explain that and make sure that people understand. While the CDC is still recommending they be required, 95% of our students aren't going to be on campus this summer. And the issues related to social distancing are largely gone. And so based on that recommendation, we're not recommending that you extend that reopening framework. And I also want to let you know a couple of items that were specifically addressed by members of our community. Number one, we are not administering a vaccine to any of our students. We did send a survey out. Members of the health department asked us if we had any interest in providing the vaccine to students, so we surveyed our families. We got a pretty significant response of yeses in the thousands, but we also did an analysis of our community and found that there were actually, at the time we did this, 44 different sites where the vaccine's available. So we determined there was no need for us to provide the vaccine over the summer to our students. That is a parent decision. I will also tell you, we have not at any point required anyone to take the vaccine, and we never even implied that we are requiring someone to take the vaccine. So I want to make sure that that's clear as well in our community. Finally, I know that there was some discussion about the health department. We have not received anything from the state indicating that we should require it or that we should do anything with respect to students under the age of 18 making their own decisions. They have not suggested that to us. I know that there's some discussion in social media. No one from the state health department has indicated that to us as a requirement. Felt like it was important for everyone to hear that that whatever is out there, it has not been directed at us from the State Department. And so I felt like it was important for everyone to know that, that from our perspective, those issues are optional. We've made them optional for our staff. And it's optional for our students. We have no intention of requiring the COVID-19 vaccine. So, second, I do want to speak to curriculum, and I know that you all and we had a really good discussion at the work session on Thursday night about curriculum. And a number of you mentioned what I think of as there's nothing new under the sun. We talked about these curriculum discussions that many of our predecessors have had. Probably from the time school boards existed, that school boards discussed curriculum. That is the kind of qualitative discussion that is valuable for our school board. Our school board over the course of decades has had policies in place related to that, and I very much appreciated the discussion. I want to let you all know that I really appreciate Dr. Allen and his staff and the discussion they've been having. I again encourage folks who are hearing this meeting to go back and look at that work session to review that very in-depth discussion among you and our staff. What I want you to know is what we let you know on Thursday, that Dr. Allen and his staff have been reviewing, especially the elementary ELA curriculum, working on adjustments as they professionally deem appropriate, and we will have a communication with you at the June meeting of where they are with that. And again, I very much respect that robust discussion. And we're going to make sure that we're professional in everything we do in serving students and do right by our students. I also know, and you all know this too, that it's hard for parents of 40,000 students to disagree. And we've known that for decades as well. And so we talked about the details of the process the state goes through with curriculum adoption, in the process we go through. And then to the point that I've mentioned earlier of our professional staff reviewing the curriculum. And then ultimately, the last thing that I want to mention is parents do have that opportunity to opt out. So we really go from the very macro at the state level all the way to allowing parents to make those individual decisions for their students, because we recognize that everyone's opinion can differ on that. I am very proud of what we've done and what we continue to do to serve students and help them grow. And you all can see some of that discussion as we go back to the work session. I will also tell you that in these times, it is more critical every day to keep constant attention on the materials that our students have. With internet access, with apps and all those kinds of items, the material is constantly evolving. We have news apps that provide news, and so often that's updated daily. And so it really is an important element for our teachers to focus on, to make sure that that what they're teaching is grade level appropriate. And we have a really good professional staff that monitors that and keeps an eye on that. So again, go back and check that discussion among the board. Be looking forward to a discussion in June about where we are in reviewing that first year of the statewide ELA adoption. We go through this pretty often, cyclically, as we evaluate the materials that we adopt and prepare it for our students. Third thing I want to mention is where we are with fostering healthy solutions. Of course, you all heard a number of folks share, and again, I appreciate that share. And we have heard from our families both needs and fears about where we're going. And we've spoken to this many months, but I know we have a lot of folks here at this first public in person, on campus, well, to the extent we're on campus, meeting in close to a year, that we are driving our work with our community's needs. We don't have a national agenda in mind. We're driving this to serve our students and help our students feel safe. And that takes attention as well. So I appreciate the comments that others have made about that. The Fosters have held 6 of their 9 listen and learn sessions. They have the way they structured those Zoom listen and learns is maximum 100. at each Zoom so that there could be room for participation. If I'm not mistaken, we've had somewhere around about 250 total participants in those first 6. We have 3 more scheduled for June 4th and 5th. Certainly want to invite anyone to come in and share what their experiences and their concerns to help us work on this. The Fosters are also reviewing and have reviewed our student discipline handbooks. They're going to be making recommendations and identify items that they saw, given a different eye, other than from those of us who prepare those handbooks. Finally, they have completed the receipt of the surveys from families, from students, from teachers, from our parents. They're in the process of compiling that. We expect them to get those materials to us in the next couple of weeks. And once we put all that together, we're going to make sure that we don't make any decisions without the board leading that. You all are our leaders. They are not writing curriculum. They made it clear, and we've made it clear, that we are not promoting critical race theory as part of this. Our state legislature, many of our state legislators have spoken to that as well. And we are, to the discussion that you all had as a board, really focused on grade level appropriate materials for our students, and we will continue to work on that. So I do want to encourage folks, if you haven't yet participated, participate in one of those 3 final listen and learn sessions. Or if you have any thoughts that you weren't able to share, please send us an email and we'll forward those on to the Fosters as we work on that. Final item I want to mention, Madam Chair, graduation ceremonies are this week, Friday and Saturday. I'm excited and nervous about it because ordinarily graduation ceremonies are inside. And so our administrators are watching the weather. I will tell you that the weather projections right now show it to be in the high 80s both of those days, and sunny. So that's just keep an eye on that. I know many of you are going to be coming to some of the graduation ceremonies. We've got that structured. I think it's going to be neat seeing what it looks like for all our students to have those graduation ceremonies on campus. And I am so proud of the work our teachers have done. Ms. Clayman, thank you for mentioning that. What a leader she has been for the WCEA. They have a great team there, and I am so grateful for the good working relationship we have with our Teachers Association. With that, Madam Chair, Carol Birdsong has about 50 student spotlights tonight, but I know that's the next item.
Ms. Birdsong, we do have one question on the floor, so could I ask you to hold on for just a second, please? Thank you. Mr. Cash, and let me remind everybody before we get started that Robert's Rules of Order state that a person can have up to 10 minutes for a question. And Mr. Timekeeper, if you will please dust off the timekeeper there. Mr. Cash? I got you on, Dan. There you go.
Hello?
There you go.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got a couple questions for Jason. They shouldn't take too long. Jason, on the curriculum, it's mentioned quite often and sent out in emails quite often about opting children out. How does that make these children feel? In my opinion, they're going to go into a place, another room with another book or whatever, and little fellas, in grade school, they're going to wonder why they're being punished before, they know even what the opting out is about. So I don't think that's, it helps. But I don't think that's anything that can help the situation out.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
The second question I had is with FHS, the surveys, and are we going to be able to, as board members, read the surveys when they come back?
So I would like Ms. Hall to answer that about the details of that. We gave numbers at the work session, so there, we have a few thousand of those from each of the respondents. And so, Ms. Hall, I know that question has been asked, if you would.
Your mic isn't on yet.
I'm listening.
Vicki, I turned you on.
You got me on? Okay, thank you. Mr. Cash, you will have the opportunity to look at the survey responses. There will be an aggregate, like an analysis that's provided to you. Also, the board can request all the raw data if that is something that you want. You will have the ability, though, to see every comment that was made on the surveys. All of that will be provided.
Thank you.
Next is Mr. Galbraith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question for Jason. Well, first a comment just to the crowd. About half of y'all have already gone, but it was very good to see. I'm guessing 150 plus of y'all out in the audience, standing room only for those. I don't know how much I don't know how well the video would get across, but so my question for Jason. So I love seeing this, but we're here and we've got a bunch of people standing room only, side by side, mask optional. So can you just tell everyone the rationale behind continuing the mandate of masks through the rest of the even the rest of the 4 days, given that we're basically saying that masks are optional?
Sure. As I mentioned, the opinions of our community, are wide, run the gamut. We've had folks ask us to end it immediately. We've had others ask why we're not continuing it into the summer. So there are a number of reasons. We researched it. We have professionals working on every detail related to this. And as you may recall, I mentioned some big buckets when we spoke at the work session about this question. And so, number one, when we set our plan to be on campus, if we could safely do so, the board knew that part of that plan included mask required. And the heart of that was, if you all recall back to July, that we determined that it was important for us to follow the CDC and Health Department guidelines that we could feasibly follow. And we knew on the front end that we weren't going to be able to socially distance students. And so that was a big part of it. The feasible part wasn't feasible with socially distancing, but masks were feasible. Those recommendations that we require masks in school are still in place. So that's a big bucket, that the consistency of making sure that we followed those health authorities' language is there. And I recognize, like I spoke to, there are many who disagree. There are many who are concerned that we're doing away with them when that need of the social distancing is no longer there when the vast majority of our students leave. So that's my best big bucket answer that we spoke about on Thursday about why we are continuing the mask requirement in our schools through the end of this week, through the end of this school year, because we can't socially distance everyone through while all students are on campus. I will also like to ask Mr. Anderson if he would, as you know, he's been leading this and working with our healthcare professionals. If there's any additional, any additional items he'd like to mention related to that.
Thank you. We're staying with the plan as was originally approved by the board and moving forward through the CDC guidelines, the health department guidelines to finish up this year the way we are. Also didn't want to make any adjustments and changes to what's going on right now during test times and during the end of the school year. We're just trying to stay consistent and not make any additional changes that potentially could interrupt what's going on in the classroom during this last week of school.
Excuse me. Whoever did that, you're out of order. This is the absolute final warning. Deputies, if anyone speaks out during any of the remarks during this meeting, I'm going to ask you to escort them out next time, please. Okay? Thank you both. Where are we? Elliot, I believe you're up. Hold on. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First off, I want to thank you for fashioning a method that allowed everybody that signed up to talk tonight an opportunity to do so, as that was not required so. So I think it was important. I felt it important to call out the fact that you figured out a way to allow everyone that wanted to talk an opportunity to do so.
Thank you. No clapping.
The other point I had, Jason, can you remind me what our protocol is for graduation, both on the outside from a mask required and distancing, and also what is the plan if Mother Nature isn't kind to us on Friday or Saturday night?
Sure. So number one, all but Renaissance graduations are scheduled to be outside. For the last 6 weeks or so, we have not required mask outside based on some changes in the CDC and State Health Department information. So those masks will not be required. And of course, just as a reminder, that's been the case outside for a long time. You asked and Carol says stop saying good question, but I got to say it. That's a really good question about where we go if we have rain. Number one, there are schedules for rolling it to the next day, to Sunday. Okay. And so if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Webb, parents have been informed of those alternate dates. Finally, if the rain continues, then they will be inside in the gyms. That will be mask recommended, and it's going to be very much limited because they're the gyms, and we don't have the capacity for all the families who could come into the stadiums. And Dr. Webb, if you would, can you give some additional detail about how many family members can come in?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Golden. And so each school has advertised already their rain date. If we are not able to have a successful graduation on the scheduled date, our first priority will be to delay it just temporarily on the same evening. If there's a small shower that's coming through, our first attempt will be to delay that same evening and graduate the same night. If we're unable to do so due to rain, we would postpone and attempt to graduate the following day. In most cases, it's the following day is the rain delay. If we are unable to at that point, each school will determine the gym capacity. We will allow parents to self-seat and maximize our gym capacity based on the number of graduates that we have graduating at each particular school. And so the number of tickets that each graduate would receive would vary from building to building. But we would attempt to graduate inside peacefully and quickly. And our gyms are all have the capacity to live stream. And so for those who would not be able to secure a ticket to come indoors for the indoor graduation, we would allow it to be live streamed and share that broadcast with everyone at home.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I see no other questions.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Sure.
one additional thing since there are no questions. I want to mention something that I've been in denial about. Kevin Fortney, who is our Director of Facilities and Construction, is officially retiring at the end of this month. This will be the last time he is sitting up here to answer your questions. Now, one of the reasons I'm in denial is practical, that he has agreed to work on projects for us. So we're going through the state process of getting him approved to do some part-time work for us. But I do want to thank him. I haven't counted him yet, but Kevin is responsible for building about half of our schools. So if you would, please thank Kevin.
Mr. Fortney, would you like to say anything? Your microphone is on.
not working.
There it goes. Thank you, Mr. Golden. I appreciate that. And thanks to all of you, too. 20-plus years ago, I came to work for the school district from the private sector. It's been the most rewarding experience I've ever had. I appreciate the opportunity that was provided, that has been provided, and I look forward to finishing up some other things before I finally call it final quits. To give you an idea of what we've been involved with, I've got a department of 4, and we managed to figure out how to get these buildings built on time with quality and within budget. In the time I've been here, I think we have 49 schools right now. I've touched one way or another 47 of them. So we've had a great time doing it. The most rewarding thing is to see children go into either a new facility or a renovated facility. I'll share with you one exciting day for me was when we built and opened the old Pinewood Gym. I saw the new Pinewood Gym. We had a little girl, a kindergarten girl. You understand Pinewood never did have a gymnasium. And to see the smiles on some little tykes' faces was probably the most rewarding that I've had. So thank all of you, and we'll go on down the road.
Thank you, Mr. Courtney. And finally, it's Carol Birdsong's district update time.
Thank you. It's kind of difficult to follow Kevin. I'm trying to be upbeat and peppy here, so, but we are all going to miss Kevin a whole lot, but at least you'll be around a little bit. So, anyway, board members, it is great to be back, and I am so excited to be celebrating some students and staff with y'all tonight, and this is such a huge honor. I want to introduce you to Nelson Rose. Nelson is the state of Tennessee's 2021 U.S. Presidential Scholar. They pick typically 2. This year there were 3. They pick a